Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to the live stream here on the channel. Hopefully you are all having a fantastic Tuesday so far. Let's see what we have in here in the chat. We have Phoenix, Cody, Indiana, as well as Catman, Sam, LWX24, Jonathan, Rockets. Let's see. Pockets, by the way, we already have a program that alerts us to tornado warnings in counties that are affected by them, so no. Most likely not. We already tried that in the past. It didn't work well. Misty, welcome to the stream. Braxton, and everybody else who is tuning in, who may not have chatted, glad to have you in here as well. Sebastian and Victoria. Let's go ahead and switch on over to our main scene here. Don't want to keep you guys waiting too long. Welcome, Luke, and I forgot my camera. Dang. Well, here, what I'll do is I will switch there, and then switch there. Boom. There you go. So, yeah, I started a little bit early because we do have a lot of stuff to talk about here today across our winter storm impacted areas as well as our severe weather threats. So I wanted to start just a little bit early. Another reason for starting early is I wanted to quickly just mention the tornado threat today. We're not going to talk about this much. But that's one reason why I did want to start early, just to go ahead and alert you guys that we are seeing some rotating thunderstorms out here. This one is out in the west central panhandle of Florida, just to the northwest of Crestview, Florida. So that is a rotating storm. You can see winds are going away from the radar and towards the radar. So we are seeing a little miniature supercell out here trying to actually spin and maybe eventually attempt at producing a tornado. You can see it's already got a little miniature hook echo here over Cannon Town. So we will keep an eye on that. And if we do get tornado warnings, I do have my program that will scream at us. If we get a tornado warning up, it will beep right at us and probably give me a heart attack. So we will know if any storms get tornado warning. Another one is this one out here in Summerdale. Newest scan actually shows that quite a bit more intense there, south of Summerdale, north of, let's see, just north of Magnolia Springs in southeastern Alabama. And you can see we do have a little area of notching, a hook here. This is kind of a classic miniature supercell as well. You can see the splitting here of your supercell. So this one's actually pretty organized for such a low in environment. It's just a tiny little storm. I mean, this is probably a relatively low precipitation rotating thunderstorm there. And we've got more supercells that will be moving onshore southeast of Mobile, Alabama. These supercells will probably only last about another hour or so. They're really going to fall apart quite quickly. We shouldn't see a long tornado threat with these. It should relatively be over by about 7 o'clock Eastern time. Another region we're watching is way back up here towards Birmingham, Alabama. We've seen some rotating QLCS action just south of the Birmingham metro area. We've seen a few little areas of rotation get going. Here's one southeast of Maplesville, another one near Plantersville, Alabama, another one that we've been watching near, this was actually just passed by Ashby, just to the south of Birmingham, Alabama, now going up towards Clanton. It'll go just to the north of Clanton, Alabama. Also, some more up here, possibly a little area of rotation in Wilsonville trying to get going. Right now, that doesn't look to be the biggest concern in terms of a tornado threat. We'll keep an eye on about this area here, kind of right in the middle of our line of very low and damaging winds. Could see a spin-up tornado in that region today. The Storm Prediction Center actually went ahead and upgraded 2 different areas to a marginal risk of severe weather. They went ahead and issued a 2% tornado risk out here for the Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Montgomery, Selma, down towards the Mobile, Alabama area, back out west, just to the southeast of Jackson, Mississippi. And another little 2% tornado risk out here towards Victoria, Sugarland, Beaumont, and the Woodlands. That's just barely, actually, I think that's over the Houston metro area. So we are going to keep an eye on that as well for the potential of a brief spin-up tornado today. Damaging winds, could see isolated damaging winds as high as 60 miles per hour. And I wouldn't fully rule out up to about 1 to 1.5 inch hail out here, back out towards San Antonio, Texas, later on tonight. Both of these areas are marginal risks, unless I see something more notable. Typically, we do not initiate live coverage for a marginal risk. That is a 1 out of 5 for severe weather. Typically, they are very low end, but we will obviously still mention it every now and then throughout this live stream. We're just not going to do a full-blown update on that. So I wanted to get that out of the way. That's why I started a bit early, because we really weren't expecting much severe weather today. And I do want to just go back here and check on some of these storms again. And I'll just kind of look through them every now and then with GR2. You'll see me switch up here. Go back to that Crestview one. So I'll just look at these one more time. You can see that Crestview one's already starting to fall apart. They're going to be very short-lived. We could see a brief spin-up tornado, but I doubt we'll see anything notable today in terms of any type of severe weather threat. Just going to keep an eye out for a brief spin-up tornado or two. All right, this is what your radar currently looks like here across the country. You can see we're still experiencing a potentially major winter storm across portions of the mid-Atlantic back out into the southern Midwestern United States. We'll continue to monitor that for the potential of snow totals above a foot. We've actually seen reports of a foot of snowfall here north of Lexington, Virginia. So we have had quite the overperforming risk out here in west central Virginia. That's really what I was expecting. I was really expecting to see about a foot of snowfall somewhere near Lexington. I was expecting to see at or just barely below a foot of snowfall from this snowstorm. I know some models actually had this downtrending all the way to like 2 to 3 inches of snowfall in this area, but obviously those models were wrong. Out here in Virginia, we actually did manage to get a dusting where I am here in south central Virginia near Martinsville. We got about, it depends on exactly where you're located in this county. Some areas to my north actually got up to 4 inches of snow, but in the city of Martinsville, I measured about 1.1 inches of snow earlier this morning around 9:30 a.m. Which was around what we were expecting. I was expecting around 1 inch of snow, so really no surprise there. Freezing rain has been ongoing here in my location for generally about the last 30 minutes. It's on that line of freezing rain to rain, so it's not full ice. I don't hear any ice pellets falling. It's really difficult to tell if it is ice or freezing rain or rain. But either way, I am getting some freezing rain out of this system. I do want to look at my local radar site. See what that says. Let's go to here. Yeah, I'm literally on that line between freezing rain and rain. So I think right now I'm mainly getting rain, if I had to guess. But it will eventually turn into freezing rain later on tonight. We also do have some ice storm warnings out. You see these kind of more bold areas. I'll just go ahead and do this. This will really help if I go to this section and turn off this. We do have ice storm warnings now out in east central West Virginia, into portions of northwestern Virginia as well. And then, of course, if I turn those back on, we do have our winter storm warnings that are still continuing for much of the state of Virginia into West Virginia, Delaware, and southern New Jersey as well. Again, that's a look at your snowfall reports. Washington, D.C.'s picked up on around 3 inches of snowfall so far, whereas areas to your south are getting up into the 4 to 6 snowfall range. And we still have plenty of time before this snow fully stops out in and south of the D.C. area. Back out here into Nebraska, Iowa, and Missouri, this is a very small little system that's really the start of our snowstorm for tomorrow. Let me go ahead and check some models really quick. Yeah, that's actually not associated with a different system. That is associated with our big trough traversing the Rockies right now. And that's actually going to be associated with our winter storm that will really... The main band will begin very late tonight, closer to the 3 a.m. time frame. So that's not the main part of our winter storm just yet. So we'll keep an eye on that, see how much it progresses over the duration of this live stream. But we're still expecting a relatively significant snowstorm out here. I will say it has downtrended quite a bit in snowfall totals. I don't believe we're going to see anything more than about 8 or 9 inches of snow in this area, whereas before I was talking about potentially up to a foot. You can see here the National Weather Service, they still have kept a really, in my opinion, a pretty aggressive forecast here, forecasting 8 to 9 inches of snow across much of northern Kansas, much of central southern Iowa, north central Missouri, into Illinois, into Chicago, southeastern Wisconsin. This is really a more aggressive forecast here. This is kind of the higher end totals that we may see. So we'll continue to keep an eye on it, but personally, I do think we've downtrended quite a bit on snowfall totals. I don't see the Kansas City metro area getting anywhere close to a foot of snow anymore. Most models indicate a very large area here. Most of this area should end up with 5 to 7 inches of snowfall, with isolated areas getting up to 8 or 9. I don't see anything into the double digits anymore. Let me go ahead and switch over here. There we go. Will I be live in case of an enhanced risk tomorrow? Oh yeah, we've already planned a live stream tomorrow. You already know we'll be live. I'm thinking of starting earlier or later, one or the other. I want to cover the winter storm, but then I want to cover the severe threat. Unfortunately, it looks like our primary severe threat tomorrow will be overnight. So that's going to be quite the doozy. I'm not great at tracking overnight severe weather events, so we'll probably end up starting a little bit on the earlier side. The main threat won't begin till probably 8 or 9 p.m., but we might end up starting at like 6 o'clock, just so we can go over everything before anything really starts. I'm not the best at covering overnight. And I mean, your tornado threat's going to last all the way until like 7 a.m. Thursday morning. I was trying to think the day after Wednesday. I apologize. I've had quite a long day, so if I mess up a lot, you know why. I don't know why, but February has just been cram-packed with action so far for me. Wow. I would not be surprised if we could see a funnel cloud or even a spin-up tornado out of this going just to the southeast of Summerdale over like the next 5 minutes here. That's really starting to spin. Anything else over here? Okay, that's really falling apart. That's good. Nothing really spinning. So we'll keep a very close eye on that storm here. Keep an eye on that near Summerdale. Could end up getting a spin-up tornado out of that pretty soon here. We haven't had any tornado warnings yet, thankfully, today. So that's really good news. Hopefully we continue with that. Let me see how this looks. Okay, that's like, we're looking at like 40 mile an hour rotation here. So that is enough to produce a weak tornado. Just take note of that. We'll watch the next scan come through here in probably 20 seconds. Let's see here. Virginia Beach weather. Let me check. It's best to go to your local National Weather Service for that, because they'll know a lot more of the terrain area than I will. But if you're talking about like Virginia Beach, it should just be rain, right? I don't really think you're going to have an opportunity for anything other than rain. Just consistent rain all the way till like 3 p.m. tomorrow. Yeah, you could actually get some flooding there. Up to about 2.5 inches of rain will be possible. Did that scan come in? Nope, it's a little behind. And then after this, you're just going to end up with more rain going into Saturday, Sunday, and Monday should be relatively clear. Tuesday will be clear. Wednesday, we're going to keep an eye on Wednesday for the potential of a snowstorm out here in North Carolina and Virginia. Don't get too, well, it depends. If you love snow, don't get too excited about that. There's a lot of uncertainty on exactly where it will be placed. But some models are starting to indicate a snowstorm will be possible for Virginia, North Carolina on Wednesday. Okay, that area rotation has weakened, so that's good. So that is good news. I really would not be surprised if we got very close to that producing a tornado. These lower end environments with miniature supercells, they actually produce weaker tornadoes more often than you may think. I mean, we've got a decent environment out here. It is not that bad whatsoever. It is not a bad environment. 700 instability, 45 effective wind shear, about 120 lower level helicity, or 0 to 3 kilometer helicity, rather. So it is not bad whatsoever in terms of the environment. So, like I said, really wouldn't be shocked if that almost produced a tornado. I can't say if it did or not because, well, it definitely wouldn't have been a strong tornado. I can tell you that. Just always remember that weak tornadoes, you're not really going to see them on radar. If we're talking like EF0s or very low end, just overall lower end areas of rotation, if they do produce tornadoes, you're not going to see some crazy potent correlation coefficient with that. We do have a damage report, multiple roofs, rather multiple reports of damage in the Ferry Pass area with roofs ripped off buildings. Possible tornado. That's what I was talking about. That was actually way back at 5:22 p.m. Let's go ahead and take our... I think our mobile radar will be better for that. So that's what I was talking about. You're not always going to see... Yeah, definitely had a little area of rotation there. Let's see if we could use storm relative velocity. That is a perfect example of what I was talking about. You have literally an area of just like 10-mile-an-hour rotation here, not really signifying anything on your velocity there. And if we go to your reflectivity, 500, or not 500, this was 517. I mean, it's just a blob. It's just a blob, and I would guarantee we did not have any notable CC drop anywhere. Yeah, no CC whatsoever. So that's what I was talking about. I'm telling you, mini supercells, if they have these tiny little areas of rotation like this, they could definitely end up producing very weak and very quick, like we're talking seconds worth of a tornado being on the ground. It's extremely rare to see a mini supercell produce a long track strong tornado in any environment. Typically, they are very, very brief in intensity and end up dying really, really quickly. But they are sneaky. They're really sneaky. And that's what we're going to see a lot of tomorrow. I'll lead that right on into tomorrow's severe weather threat, because that's what we're going to see a lot of tomorrow. This is tomorrow's slight risk for severe weather. We have a very, very large 5% chance for tornadoes tomorrow across much of Alabama, western Georgia, much of Mississippi, into Louisiana, and the western panhandle of Florida. So we're going to have the opportunity for multiple tornadoes, potentially a strong tornado or two, especially back out towards the southern Mississippi and western Alabama corridor, right in this area here, where we're probably going to end up with a few confluence bands that try to set up and push up into the Mississippi, kind of the southeastern, south central Mississippi area, southwestern southwestern Alabama and far eastern Louisiana. We're talking east of Baton Rouge, north of New Orleans. Could see a couple tornadoes, maybe a strong tornado there. If we go ahead and check the HRRR, a lot of them will be miniature supercells, which should allow for that strong tornado threat to be at least a little bit on the lower end. But you can see here, 6 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to get quite a few mini supercells that pop up in that open warm sector. And some of these might be able to mature into not so many miniature supercells here. Like, for instance, the HRRR has a decent supercell west of New Orleans at 6 p.m. Eastern. So some of these will be mini. Some of these could actually be a little bit on the normal size for a supercell. For instance, it also shows a decent supercell near Montgomery as well, or at least a damaging wind risk there going through Montgomery, Alabama. So we're going to keep an eye on all of our model runs. Definitely would not be surprised if we got either a 10 sig or just a normal 10% risk for tornadoes somewhere, like I said, in Louisiana, Mississippi, into western Alabama. Would not be shocked if we got either a 10% or a 10 sig. It's a little question mark on how notable that strong tornado threat may be. I don't really feel like we'll have the opportunity for multiple strong tornadoes tomorrow. I think we could get a brief spin-up strong tornado. That lower level jet will be around 40 knots, as you can see on your screen here, which should be enough for a spin-up strong tornado. And with lower level lapse rates being on the lower side of things, I don't think that will promote a long-tracked tornado threat or any type of long-tracked strong tornado threat either. So we're looking at multiple spin-up weak tornadoes and the potential for a spin-up strong tornado tomorrow. Like I said, specifically in the corridor of southern Mississippi into Louisiana and western Alabama as we go to the 6 p.m. and after time frame Eastern time tomorrow. That is true. We could see things significantly uptrend. If we get better lapse rates, that could promote longer tracked supercells, which could increase that tornado threat overall. It would not surprise me if we see some last second uptrends by any means. But for instance, let's take a NAM sounding out here in southern Mississippi. This is at the 7 o'clock time frame. So just literally 1 hour afterwards. And you can see a lack in the lower levels there in terms of your lapse rates. So you're at 5.9. Now that will be enough to sustain a couple supercells, but they're going to need some time to organize. So as we see those confluence bands set up, it's going to take a good hour and a half or 2 hours before those mini supercells really begin to rotate as they move into specifically south central Louisiana. But wind shear, not going to really be an issue for wind shear. Instability, we've really checked that box. Check this box. Hodograph, you can go ahead and check that as well. Temperature dew point spread, you are at 71 degree dew point, so check that box as well. Maybe a little bit of an EML right in here, but it's not a really strong EML. So I think that will be enough to prevent. That should prevent a more widespread morning convection in at least south central Louisiana, or rather south central Mississippi. I can't get my states right today. Holy cow. In south central Mississippi, I don't think we will have as much of a mess in the morning hours here, and into eastern Louisiana as well. But let me go ahead and show you what I mean here. So you can see the HRRR, it does have that convection getting pretty far south, whereas the NAM model does not. So that's one big difference right there. That could literally be the biggest factor in terms of this being a notable, significant tornado threat that the NAM portrays here, or more of a, like I said, multiple spin-up tornado threat going into your Wednesday afternoon hours. So we'll see that EML might be able to just help with any of that convection that may be able to form in your early morning and early afternoon hours in portions of Mississippi, eastern Louisiana, southwestern Alabama. We'll keep an eye on that. So your HRRR, it does do a pretty good job. You can see a lot of your convection will stay out of far southern Mississippi and eastern Louisiana into southwestern Alabama, but you do get a little line that forms really seemingly out of nowhere here. You can see these showers and thunderstorms. They're continuing like this, but then you get a little thunderstorm on the HRRR that just decides to move dead east, and that moves into your warm sector. That would affect your environment for tornadoes in the later portion of the day after the 6 p.m. Eastern time frame. So, even with that afternoon convection moving through, the HRRR still has, like I mentioned, multiple miniature supercells, maybe a mature supercell or two, with that line of damaging winds and spin up tornadoes back out towards south central Louisiana, going into your 6 p.m. time frame Wednesday, which is tomorrow. Then that progresses into the 7 o'clock time frame, still continuing with those multiple miniature supercells. Again, mature supercell or two will definitely be possible. This is going into 9, or rather 8. So that's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And then 10 o'clock, your storms start to get a lot more messy as that cold front catches up with your confluence bands. And that results in definitely a more messy mode going into your 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock time frame. But watch as we get towards about 5 a.m. I want to say this is 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. I was one off. Dang it. So as you get towards your 4 a.m. time frame, the HRRR reignites those miniature supercells into actually Georgia and southeastern Alabama and the western panhandle of Florida this time. So we could get some spin-up tornadoes out of that. That's why they have that slight risk as far east as those locations. Eastern Kentucky's not going to get a lot in terms of severe weather. It depends on where. Eastern Kentucky's quite large. For instance, northeastern Kentucky's getting snow. Most of eastern Kentucky's going to be getting rain out of this, though. So if you're in northeast Kentucky, like towards the Maysville area or so, you'll get some snow out of that. But it's transitioning to rain, like we talked about yesterday, which will probably result in a more slushy-like snow going into your overnight hours. But you've probably picked up on a good 4 inches of snow there. Oh, 2 to 4, so we got a 2-inch snow report there. I saw some 7s out here near Lexington earlier today. Let's see if we can go all the way back. But yeah, there's a 4-inch report into just south of Ashland. So between 2 to 4 inches of snow is definitely possible in this area, for sure, especially since you have like another at least hour left of snow. Let me go check here. Yeah, you got another couple hours of snow all the way till about 9 p.m. and then it turns into ice and mixed precipitation. So you'll probably have I imagine a good solid, like, let me see. I'd say at least 2 inches of snow on the ground tomorrow morning. Let me just quickly go check on that storm again. Check on these lines. Still a little, oh, that's old scan. There you go. I realized that right away for once. So not really much in the wake of rotation there. We'll still keep an eye on that just in case. But back over to our HRRR model here. And if we go throughout the rest of this, I mean, your line just progresses with a brief spin-up tornado threat into very early Thursday morning. So it's all, in my opinion, it's all going to come down to this portion here. This afternoon convection that we're going to see and how far south it is. Your EML should help somewhat with any of these rain showers here. But if you get a line moving through, your EML won't really matter much. For instance, what this shows here, where you just get a big blob of rain moving through, your EML is not really going to help much with that. The NAM model is also in pretty good agreement with that, but it has it more to the north, and that's what it's all going to come down to. So if we don't have a lot of afternoon convection, say you look at the radar at 1 p.m. and we have our morning convection at or north of Jackson, Mississippi, it's probably going to be a pretty big day for tomorrow night. But if it's 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon and we've got rain all over this area here, that should promote a much lower lapse rates, as well as just overall a much more stable environment, as well as a minimal EML. So it just depends. We'll kind of have to really just wait until the 1 o'clock time frame tomorrow. The SPC updates at what, 3, I believe, tomorrow? They'll update at 3 p.m. afternoon. Of course, they have multiple updates before that, but if we do see an enhanced risk for severe weather, it would probably be at that 3 o'clock update, right when the confidence is highest on if we're seeing that afternoon convection. Like I said here, this is your HRRR. Here's Jackson, Mississippi right there. And you've got a lot of afternoon convection in your main warm sector here, specifically on the northern side of that warm sector. Even with that afternoon convection, though, the HRRR still gets a really healthy amount of instability as far north as, I don't know. I don't really know my towns out in Mississippi. As far north as like Macomb, Columbia, maybe all the way up to Brookhaven in south central Mississippi towards this is 5 p.m. Eastern time frame. So either way, we're going to end up with a risk for multiple spin-up tornadoes and even a spin-up strong tornado tomorrow. But if we're talking about a very notable tornado threat, we're going to have to see that morning and afternoon convection go at or north of Jackson, Mississippi. So, Pez, if we do see a 10%, like I've pointed out, I think it would be in this general area here. And that is if your morning and afternoon convection will stay north of Jackson, Mississippi. It's going to be very close. Very, very close. But you can see the NAM model really keeps it all clear, and you can see how far north that warm sector gets. So you just get this very large area where supercells can fire thanks to those confluence bands that are moving up like this. So you really just get a large area for the potential of multiple tornadoes tomorrow. Whereas the HRRR is definitely more confined to the south, but it also has more instability. So the NAM3K for instability, that has about, what, 1,500? Okay, about 1,700. The HRRR, I believe, has almost 2K. Let's get rid of that. HRRR has up to about 2,000, maybe 2,100 in some spots. So that's when we're looking at our peak tornado threat, like I said, right around the time frame or just after 6 p.m. Eastern. And now that I look at this, it doesn't look to be completely overnight. In my opinion, overnight is after midnight. So this doesn't look to be fully into the overnight hours. It will be night after 6 p.m. So it's going to be, very late in the day getting into your night hours, especially when that tornado threat completely peaks. This is going to be 9 p.m. is when our absolute peak should be. Once that QLCS merges with your confluence bands, that should be where your tornado threat peaks and then begins to significantly decrease after the 10 o'clock time frame. And then, like I said, could see a confluence band into the early morning hours of Thursday that may result in a few tornadoes very, very late Wednesday night into very early Thursday morning in this area. Well, we've got another snowstorm that we are tracking in terms of the future here. The Climate Prediction Center already highlighted a slight risk for heavy snow over much of the Midwestern United States, Oklahoma, Kansas, Arkansas, into Texas, Mississippi, Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, Delaware, New Jersey, all the way up into the New England states. Everybody in this area is under that slight risk for heavy snowfall. You can see that separator right there. So here is the 19th through the 20th, and then to the northeast is the 20th and the 21st for the potential of snow. And you can very clearly see that on any model run that you look at. We'll look at some model discrepancies here. So your 12Z GFS model takes a snowstorm through portions of Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Virginia, Pennsylvania. I mean, a large portion of the U.S. gets snow there going into the 20th and the 21st of February. 18Z GFS has a completely different scenario, way more south. So more of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, Delaware, southern New Jersey gets snow out of that scenario. And then a second one, what has a second snowstorm impacting Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia on the 20th as well. Yeah, now if there's something I could bet on never happening, it's that. Canadian model run takes a more realistic approach where we see a snowstorm Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri. It does go a little far south into Tennessee, Kentucky, and then brings it up along the eastern seaboard and turns it into a nor'easter. If I zoom out, you can see that. Turns it into a nor'easter. So we're definitely looking at a big snowstorm somewhere in this region. Someone's going to end up with a lot of snow around the 20th of February. Which, if you watched yesterday's video, I actually called that out pretty much right as model runs were starting to show light snow at this time frame. And then, of course, today it all uptrended like crazy. So we're not going to enter full-blown spring probably until very early March. And even then, we're still most likely going to be dealing with an isolated snowstorm going into March. I mean, let's look here. Let's see. That's your 3 to 4 week temperature outlook there. And you can see the cold air does push more to the north. They pull it up more into the north central United States. So your cold air will slowly begin to push more north, but it's going to linger over the northern United States for the first 2 weeks or so of March. And then a very much above average chance for precipitation out here in the eastern United States. Let me go check the temperature. Okay, there you go. They also have a temperature outlook too. Moderate risk for hazardous temperatures from the 19th through the 21st. That's definitely an association with your snowstorm potential. If we look at your temperatures here, you'll see that blast of cold air right behind your snowstorm. Jeez, it is going to get cold. It is definitely going to get cold before it gets warmer here. I mean, right now, a lot of us, with the exception of the far southern U.S., we're into the 40s, if not well below the 40s. That's going to stick around for much of this week. We'll warm up Saturday just slightly in the southern U.S., but then, of course, we got that severe threat that's going to bring a cold front in. We'll cool right back down into the 20s in much of the south central United States. And then we'll just continue to linger around with all that cold air. So it's just going to keep getting cooler before it gets warmer. And then the GFS does finally get us at some warmer temperatures here on February 22nd. But then right after that, I'm sure it's going to have another big cool down. Yep, there you go. Another big cool down at the very end of this model. So we're still very much in our full winter pattern here. I want to look at the WRAP model here for the severe weather threat tomorrow. See what that says. Wow, okay, I don't know if our warm sector is going to go that far north. That is impressive. It still has all that morning convection, but your cold front is apparently so strong that it brings up a very far north warm sector there. I mean, that is pretty far north. The NAM, I believe, is, yeah, even the NAM is further south than the WRAP model. Oh, WRAP, or not the WRAP, the actual NAM model. This is your normal NAM. Goes all the way up into north central Alabama, but your NAM 3K, about similar there as well. Same for the WRAP. What about the HRRR? I am seeing an outlier called the HRRR here. WRAP, NAM, NAM 3K, GFS, HRRR. I think the HRRR is an outlier. Wow. I mean, you could see, again, WRAP, NAM, NAM 3K, GFS, all of them have almost the same warm sector around 5 p.m. tomorrow. And then the HRRR is just really far south. I don't know what the Canadian's doing. But even the Canadian is more north than the HRRR. What? Okay, I think the Canadian model run shows a full-blown bust. Yeah, I think the Canadian has maybe our cold front's too quick or something. It's doing something different. I can tell you that. But I would not be listening to the HRRR on this. Let's check the warm sector here. This is the newest HRRR, as far out as it can go. 16Z tomorrow. So that's what, like 11 a.m.? I think that's 11 a.m. So this is the warm sector that the HRRR has at about 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. The NAM model, okay, about the same. RAP model, about the same. Yeah, it looks like they're all about the same there. Go back. There you go. That's 15Z, so that the RAP model doesn't go to 16Z. But it looks like they're still generally the same. They're not as far... The RAP looks to be pretty far east, same with the HRRR, but I don't think, at least in my opinion, I don't think instability going that far east into west central Georgia at 11 a.m. is going to end up mattering that much. I don't think that's going to be a big factor in our tornado threat, in my opinion. Because as that cold front goes through in the overnight hours, it will push instability up anyways. Ooh, you know, that's a good idea. Let's compare. So that's your 18Z HRRR. Let's draw that out. So for 16Z tomorrow, this is what your 18Z HRRR has. And if we go back to the 22Z, it still looks relatively the same. That's the wrong time. 16Z on the HRRR, 18Z. And then 22Z HRRR at 16Z. I know that's pretty confusing, huh? Looks like instability is a little bit better in Louisiana, and it may be just the tiniest bit more north. Like the smallest bit more north into south central Alabama. Maybe a tiny bit more north into south central Mississippi as well. What about convection-wise? All right, let's go back to the 18Z. So 18Z has really a complete northeast southwest orientation there at 16Z. 22Z has more of a indent out here in Mississippi. So that just shows you that this model in the HRRR, it's going to change quite a bit into the overnight hours. So I really wouldn't be paying much attention to it in terms of forecasting solely based off the HRRR here. I do believe it is going to be more of an outlier. So here's your newest HRRR supercell composite, bringing those yellows into south central Mississippi, into south central Alabama as well. So that's your yellow outline there of supercell composite on the new one. Let's go to the old one for 16Z. Relatively the same, a little bit better supercell composite in Louisiana and Mississippi on the model run we just clicked off of here. There we go, that's a little bit better. I think the warm sector will go as far north as Jackson, Mississippi. I agree. I think it will go that far north. It's going to go north like this. So that's probably where our whole warm sector will get to. Because you can see how as you progress, let's use a model run that's probably more correct than the HRRR for once. That's going to be your NAM. You can see how your warm sector gets, that pushes it actually well north of Jackson, Mississippi. And then it continues to push it north into the overnight hours. And then, of course, your instability decreases into the morning hours of Thursday. And like I mentioned in our video yesterday, I wouldn't fully rule out a spin-up tornado Thursday afternoon somewhere in this area here, but I doubt it will be anything worth covering or, anything noteworthy. So it's definitely going to be a Dixie Alley setup, that's for sure. It definitely screams Dixie Alley with your confluence bands and very messy convection setup, as well as your later in the evening and into the night hours time frame. So definitely looks like I guess you could call it a classic Dixie Alley setup, but it won't be, I don't think it's an outbreak caliber setup for Dixie Alley. Unless we see that warm sector go more north and become more potent. Like, for instance, a NAM3K scenario where that warm sector at 22Z is into Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama, and then back out into west central Georgia with 2,000 instability into portions of south central Mississippi and eastern Louisiana. So there you go. Alrighty. That is it for Wednesday. We'll, of course, come back to that. But here you go on into Saturday. Saturday is looking significantly better. Saturday is most likely a tornado outbreak caliber setup with a very large slight risk for severe weather outlined from the Storm Prediction Center. There's definitely some concerns in the overall progression of your positively tilted trough ejection. If we go ahead and look at the NAM model, we'll see, does this go out far enough? I don't know what day that is. Okay, NAM does not go out far enough yet. We'll use the next best thing, which is not really that much better, the GFS. So this is your 500 millibar wind speeds on the GFS model run, and it looks relatively the same. Now, it is worth noting positively tilted troughs in Dixie Alley actually have recently had a history of producing significant tornado outbreaks. Just because it's positively tilted does not mean it won't cause severe weather. Positively tilted trough just typically doesn't cause significant severe weather. It's still possible, but it's uncommon. Most of our severe weather in the United States is caused by a neutral tilted trough, or rather a negatively tilted trough, my bad. So a negative trough is pointed to the southeast, neutral is pointed to the south, and positive is pointed to the southwest. So if you look here, clearly our contours are pointing very obviously to the southwest. That is a positively tilted trough. However, ahead of this positively tilted trough, we've got a quite intense jet stream here that will allow for a better chance for severe weather in the southern United States with a positively tilted trough than what you normally see. Like I've mentioned so many times before, and also in this stream just literally a minute ago, positively tilted troughs don't typically cause significant severe weather outbreaks in the U.S. But this one has such a strong jet stream, specifically on the southern side of its positively tilt, that it's going to be able to pull up decent instability into Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, as well as Louisiana. So we're going to be able to see a decently large warm sector with this storm. It shouldn't go all the way up into where I've outlined here. I don't think we'll see instability all the way up into Kentucky, but generally we're going to have a good warm sector in this area. And I can't tell if we have any solid embedded shortwaves on this. Let's go switch over to a model run that might be able to help with that. That is going to be the European 12Z 500 millibar wind speeds. Really don't see many notable shortwaves. I can see where the primary cold front is and where your storms are located at 0Z. I'm not going to be able to... Well, there you go. Yeah, so there you go. I could very easily tell that your storms were located in that area. Cold front's a little bit more to the west of where those storms are located, obviously. So, just it has a lot of forcing, too. You know, this storm is rapidly going to traverse the Rockies. That's another thing. It's definitely a fast moving trough. So it's got a big forcing mechanism behind it. A very, very, very strong cold front is going to be associated with this storm on Saturday. And that's going to once again allow for, if we switch back to the GFS, not that, there you go. It's going to allow for a really large warm sector, especially when you've got such a strong cold front like this. So I would say I haven't really put a lot of study into positively tilted troughs, so I can't say for certain if this is unusual, but from what I do know, I feel like this is a little bit more on the unusual side, seeing such a strong positively tilted trough like this entering the US. I feel like it's a little bit more uncommon, and especially just how, in my opinion, well amplified it is. It looks like a very well amplified positively tilted trough. So, yeah, I am a little bit surprised in that sense, because it's not, it actually is not a bad setup because this trough has trended so well recently. It does not look like a bad setup. And I mean, you can see, look at the difference here between yesterday's model run and today's. It's a lot more amplified. You can see it digs a lot more into the Gulf of the Gulf there, the Gulf of America, potentially all the way into the Gulf of America there, into southeastern Texas as well. And it pulls up all of that instability into Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and that could definitely cause a substantial tornado threat. So we'll see. The one thing I am kind of questioning is it does not have that instability lasting long. It does not last that long. But we'll definitely just monitor the GFS. It is definitely trended with a more amplified trough. Mm, 18Z is kind of pulled back on that a little bit. Look at the difference. Still a really solid trough ejection. It might be... Yeah, it looks like the 18Z is kind of trended towards the better ingredients being into central Mississippi, whereas the 18Z was more into Louisiana and southern Arkansas. Does it? Okay, I mean, it fully disappears like that. That's just... I don't know. I don't know if your instability is actually going to just disappear like that. I mean, you go from, what, almost 2,000 instability all the way down to just, like, 500. Okay, 700 in the matter of 3 hours, and your cold front doesn't even pull through at that time. I feel like the GFS is a little bit too rapid with that instability dying out. Let's get a sounding. I want to get 2 soundings. Let's get the 12Z GFS here in Louisiana. 12Z GFS in Mississippi. And let's get the 18Z GFS in kind of eastern Louisiana, where that better supercell composite is. And then the 18Z GFS towards the Jackson, Mississippi area. All right, here's your 12Z in Louisiana. Ooh, definitely dry air intrusion. That would not be all that beneficial to thunderstorms. Look at that. So you do have your EML. That's your EML right there. But then we get a lot of dry air intrusion above the 500 millibar level. That would not be so healthy for a thunderstorm development. And then into Mississippi on the same model run, it does fix that. Not as much dry air in the upper levels. Still have a decent EML. Not the best, but a decent EML there. From your about 900, 950 millibar all the way down to your 600 or so millibar. Going into your 18Z GFS, this is for Louisiana. And you could see, so it looks like that is something to note. That's in Louisiana. It looks like kind of north central and northeastern Louisiana might have some upper air, dry air intrusion. So Mississippi is definitely the way to go if we are talking about a heightened tornado threat for Saturday. That's definitely the place to watch. I would say probably right from Jackson and maybe a little bit more south. I'd say generally this area here. That area is probably the region to watch in terms of your greatest tornado threat. Because it's right where that belt of flow begins to aim to the northeast, which that's where your wind directions are going to change. So it's going to pull up instability like this. That's going to enhance wind shear in this area as well. So I would definitely say from just west and just south of Jackson, Mississippi, all the way back up north. Generally that area there. Maybe a little bit too far north into Mississippi, but generally that region. That is a very large slight risk too, by the way. Almost, actually over 15 million people under that slight risk for severe weather. Definitely not the worst setup. I do want to look at instability again. Saturday is definitely a higher caliber setup than tomorrow. Saturday is definitely going to be more of the day to watch. And oh, we have a confirmed tornado about 55 minutes ago near Pensacola, Florida. That was in Ferry Pass. Let me go see if we can find that. Little off topic here in terms of our severe threat, but I want to go see this. Let's see here. Ferry Pass. Oh. Well, that was the storm I was watching. So you're telling me, like, right when we started this live stream, we might have actually had a tornado ongoing. Right when we started up this stream early. Interesting. I want to find that exact area again. Can it please take me there? Okay, so that is just on the north side. That is, we've already looked at that. Actually, that was before we started the live stream. So that was not 50 minutes ago. That was like an hour 30 or so. Maybe even longer than that. Yeah, that was that was like around 5:15 or so. We did look into that, but I just saw the video on Twitter about that. So that was actually a confirmed tornado. Brief spin-up tornado did indeed happen with that. So they'll go survey that. And it looks like we still have little areas of rotation embedded in this very elongated line here. So we'll keep an eye on that. But it's not really a big concern for today. The environment is not that favorable for multiple tornadoes. Now, we could get a spin-up out of it, but anything more than a weak spin-up, not going to happen. We're not going to see much more than just a weak spin-up tornado with any of these little couplets that may be able to really organize. It was a very wispy tornado. It picked up a lot of debris, too. Jeez. Okay, I kind of want to go look for a correlation coefficient on that, because that definitely picked up debris. I want to go look all the way back. Okay, I'm pretty sure Mobile's radar site does not Oh, that actually might be your correlation coefficient right there. So we actually might have had a pretty I don't really want to say strong tornado, but definitely a damaging. There we go. We did seemingly have a damaging tornado there. About 5:20 p.m. Eastern. So like I said, that's about an hour and 30 minutes ago, not 50. An hour and 30 minutes ago. So even though we went live 10 minutes early, we did not stream that. I definitely was not looking at that storm because it was barely even rotating. I'm pretty surprised that that storm produced. All right, back over to our model runs. Keep on diving into. This is the NAM eel. Keep diving on into the threat on Saturday here. Here's your lower level jet, which your lower level jet's not going to be an issue. If you didn't know, for strong tornadoes, typically we look for 35 knots of lower level jet or greater. And most of our primary severe weather threat will be over 50 knots in terms of jet stream. There will be areas that could get like 45 knot jet streams further to the south, or lower level jet rather. But even that's sufficient. So the entire warm sector is going to have a enough lower level jet to fuel a strong tornado threat. However, it's more than just a lower level jet that contributes to the potential for strong tornadoes. If we look at your instability here, it's definitely looking like it will be a pretty large warm sector and quite a favorable warm sector. Like I said, 1,500 instability in those blues going into your 4-5 p.m. time frame Saturday afternoon. And I feel like it's going to be right around the Jackson, Mississippi area where that tornado threat will be the highest. However, we got to wait for CAM models to render in, like the NAM3K and the HRRR. Because that's going to help determine what storm mode we may be able to see. Right now, if I had to guess, it would be similar to what we're going to see tomorrow, but Saturday might be more of a longer, oh, what do you call these confluence bands? We might have longer confluence bands that are able to reach all the way into like north central Mississippi, thanks to that very large warm sector, and then probably going to have a very strong line thanks to that strong cold front that will make its way through most of our severe weather threat Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening. That's going to be your primary severe weather threat there. So most people inside that slight risk for severe weather on day 5. Most of you guys are going to see 60 up to about 60 mile per hour winds. Once that line gets really intense, probably closer to Mississippi and Alabama, most likely going to end up with more widespread 70 mile an hour winds, maybe even isolated 80 mile per hour winds. Hail most likely won't be much of an issue unless we get very mature supercells out of those confluence bands. We most likely won't see any really large hail going into Saturday. Let me go see here. I want to see if they talk about any hail. A strong trough, which is trended more amplified, just like we discussed. I'm reading from the SPC, is expected to impact portions of the southeastern United States starting in the afternoon of Wednesday on day 5, or rather Saturday, day 5. The latest model trends have trended more favorable for the surface low to be placed in the Tennessee Valley. These factors will drive strong moisture advection into the region by Saturday morning, continuing into the afternoon of Sunday. Intense winds throughout the column will support organized thunderstorms. They did say into Sunday. I do want to check that before we continue reading. They said into Sunday there, which caught my eye. This ain't gonna be no North Carolina threat, right? Man, we better not have no severe threat on Sunday. Um, hey Pete, it's gonna rain on the Daytona 500, man. Uh, literally. Okay, I think this will be before the Daytona 500 starts though. 1 p.m. That's 1 p.m. Daytona's like right here, right? I forgot exactly where Daytona is. I haven't looked in quite a while. Yeah, it was pretty close. Pretty close for somebody who doesn't look at Daytona but like 3 times a year. Oh man. Nah. We're probably gonna get a rainy race on Sunday. Because our cold front has trended faster. Your trough ejection is more amplified, which means that it's going to be able to move quicker. Your trough just simply is going to be able to move quicker here, and so that's going to allow for an earlier threat for rain Sunday. Because remember, I think I was talking about more into Monday morning for rain on in Daytona, Florida, but now it looks like it's going to be more of Sunday, very late afternoon, like 4 p.m. or so. We don't want rain Sunday, Pez. That's when our NASCAR race is. Saturday we have a NASCAR race too, but like I said, I have a surprise for you guys on Saturday, so we'll still end up live streaming. Or actually, nah, we'll just see. We'll see. I will definitely be live at some point Saturday. I can guarantee that. I'm not going to fully skip out on streaming Saturday. I wish, Pez. But I haven't called that dude in like 4 days. He's been fully focused on school. So if you guys haven't heard from him much on his channel or here, that's why. He's very, very focused on school. All right, let's go ahead and switch back over to... I want to look at the... Oh, we can't look at the NAM. It's so difficult trying to do an analysis when you ain't got many of your model runs in here. Like, we literally only have the GFS and the Euro, and the Euro is really not that useful on this page. Let me compare the jet stream here. So the Euro is a little bit more amplified than the GFS right off the bat. Right off the bat. There's your GFS, there's your Euro. Yeah, your Euro goes really, really far south. That goes extremely far south. Euro is very, very amplified. Your GFS is still amplified, but not as much as your GFS. Or not as much as your Euro. Gracious day. I did not expect to mess up this many times in a live stream. I apologize. It's crazy. Let's see. Why do we not like negative troughs? Because they cause tornado outbreaks. Negative troughs equals tornadoes, so we don't like those. CSU severe. I actually have not looked at this today, so you're going to get a live reaction from me. Let's see today. Okay, well, the 5% tour is definitely misplaced. What the heck is it doing in freaking Eastern Texas? I don't know. Maybe that's for tonight? Hold on, I want to go check the HRRR. Is there going to be a tornado threat tonight in, like, east of Houston? Oh, yeah, there may be a brief tornado threat technically tomorrow morning. You're looking at like between 5 and 8 a.m. tomorrow morning for a brief tornado threat in that brown area that CSU has. But doesn't really look like a notable tornado threat there. We are going to have a morning round that could cause damaging winds throughout Louisiana and a few brief spin-up tornadoes. Now let's look at tomorrow. Okay, not bad, not bad. Very low end hail risk as expected. Wind threat is very much more east than I was expecting, to be honest with you. I was really expecting the 15% to be like right in this area here. Not all the way into, I mean, shoot, that goes into North Carolina and South Carolina. That's very far east. But pretty good placement on the tornado threat there. I do believe we could see the SPC upgrade that region to an enhanced risk. All right, day 6, is it? Oh, wait, no, it's day 5 now. Okay. We've dropped the moderate risk. We're back down to a enhanced risk. That placement's also good. We've definitely trended more west and more amplified with the trough. So we moved from like central Alabama being the main area to central Mississippi. So definitely don't disagree with that. And of course you have the SPC. We'll most likely end up with a day 4 enhanced risk over Mississippi. I mean, unless there is a lot of disagreement overnight, I really don't see why the Storm Prediction Center won't pull the trigger for an enhanced risk on day 4. 15 sig what? Tornadoes? You can't even see that. What? I can't see that. Maybe you can, but I definitely don't see it. At least on CSU. Oh, and then of course I'm almost in a 2% tornado risk on CSU for this is for Thursday, right? That's for Thursday, man. Hold on. I want to go see that. What in the world? Yeah, CSU is not it is not NATO cast. I do not know why it has a 2% in my area on Thursday. But really not surprised by CSU having an enhanced risk. I'm not surprised. I mean, the only if they pull a day 4 enhanced risk, the only thing that gives me confidence to say is a tornado outbreak. Right now, I'm saying multiple tornadoes with potentially a few strong tornadoes, specifically over central Louisiana. But if they do pull that enhanced risk, I think it would be very, it would be more assuring to call it a tornado outbreak possibility. I haven't been calling this a possible tornado outbreak yet because it is Dixie Alley, and I've learned that Dixie Alley has very messy setups, even in high caliber risks. I mean, for instance, you could have a environment that is literally worth a high risk, but your storm mode promotes literally the SBC to just keep it as an enhanced risk, right? For instance, actually, I can't think of one right off the top of my head that really goes with that example, but I've seen it a lot. I mean, in literally the last 3 years, we've had a lot of environments that are really high end, and then storm modes just absolutely destroy them in Dixie Alley. We also had that one in Oklahoma, the high risk in Oklahoma that was destroyed and busted thanks to a whatchamacallit, messy storm mode. No, I'm not saying Saturday has a chance for a high risk. I'm just saying the environment, in terms of how important a storm mode is. If you have discrete storms compared to a messy linear mode, it's going to be very different on what the Storm Prediction Center puts out and how many tornadoes you may see. Like, for instance, if we end up with a bunch of discrete storms in this environment, that's definitely going to warrant the SPC to go enhanced risk easily. But if we end up with a much more messy mode, for instance, what we have tomorrow on the HRRR model, where we end up with a bunch of afternoon and morning and even into the evening, just a bunch of crap vection, that's not going to warrant a higher risk from the Storm Prediction Center, even though your environment may be better. You're just so messy, it's going to be a very linear and overall crap vection day. Tomorrow's fully going to come down to these confluence bands right here. That's what it's going to come down to. If we do not see these form, then they are not going to end up upgrading that risk to an enhanced risk tomorrow. So that's why I feel like the SPC is not going to pull the enhanced trigger until probably, if they even do, 3 p.m. Because at 3 p.m. we'll be at this point here, which at this point we'll know, okay, are we still seeing a bunch of this convection over Mississippi? Are we still seeing this very messy line over Louisiana? Or are we with what the NAM has here, where we have a line trying to organize and literally next to no convection in the open warm sector? So there's a lot of things we still have to work out, but overall, I do believe strong tornadoes will be possible on both days. Saturday's easily a much higher risk caliber. I think we are definitely looking at the potential for a moderate risk day going into Saturday. We could very, very easily see a moderate risk over Mississippi for Saturday. As long as we continue with the more amplified positively tilted trough, as well as the stronger EML. Especially if we see a day 4 enhanced risk, too. A day 4 enhanced risk means a moderate risk is really, really on the table. I mean, day 4 enhanced risks are very rare. I mean, Sam, it's a good environment, dude. It really is. It's all going to come down to that EML, as well as the confluence bands. For tomorrow, it's just purely coming down to the confluence bands, as well as, of course, your morning convection. Tomorrow relies a lot more heavily on confluence bands than Saturday. Saturday, we may just see straight up prefrontal action where we end up with the QLCS line here and then prefrontal supercells out here with confluence bands down in this area. Those prefrontals would actually be closer to here with confluence bands here. But let me just show you something real quick. See Wednesday? Wednesday's a negatively tilted trough, right? It's an embedded negatively tilted shortwave. So see your wind barbs? Those are coming from the southwest. So that's going to allow for a better opportunity of confluence bands because it's pushing from the Gulf of Mexico there. Or the Gulf of America, my bad. Still not used to that. So whereas if we go to Saturday... Okay, Saturday actually is the same. I thought Saturday was going to tilt southeastward. But it looks like that's still the same. So both days are going to have a good chance for confluence bands. Yeah. Specifically Saturday from about 5 p.m., around 5 p.m. Saturday, all the way till 7 p.m. Saturday. That's when your wind barbs are really strong in this area, so we should see confluence bands there. Sam, that's literally all I'm doing. My whole 20-minute discussion on Saturday has been about storm mode. I compared it to our high risk last year in Oklahoma, compared it to Dixie Alley events in the past. That's literally, really, primarily what we've been looking at this entire time. I'm going to try to nitpick that. There you go. Let's wait for that. I would like that email to be a little bit stronger. But that's probably still going to do. I mean, that's really, I don't even know if you could call that an EML. It's so minimal. And you still do have a weird little dry slot right at 500 millibars. That happened in eastern Louisiana, too. Where did I pull that sounding from? I swear I pulled it in central Mississippi. We'll do one here. Eastern Louisiana seems to have that little dry air. Yeah, see? This is Mississippi, and we still have that dry air intrusion. What time is this for? It's for 5 p.m. We should not have dry air intrusion at that time. Let's try a little bit later. I also, like I said before, I feel like the GFS is killing off your instability way too quick. You still get dry air in the mid-levels. Why is that? I wish I could pull a sounding from the NAM. We'll have to watch that, because that could easily be a big bust factor for Saturday. Trapped dry air in the mid-levels, I mean, that could definitely kill off your tornado threat. What did I just do? I have no clue what I just did. Well, I'm doing it again. Whatever I just did, I'm doing it again. Oh, I'm literally moving the sounding. I didn't know you could do that. Oh my goodness, you can move the sounding with the arrow keys. So this is more west, more north. I don't know exactly how far I'm moving this, though. That's a little issue. But I'm literally moving it. You can see it down here. See, look at that. Nudge location northwest, southeast. Wow. Oh my word, I never knew that. That is awesome. Wow, I am very surprised by that. I wish I knew that sooner. I wish I knew that sooner. I'll probably never use that again and then end up forgetting about it. And then 10 years later, I'll come back to it and remember. But I did not know that. That is awesome. So I could literally like start here in Louisiana, where the instability, let's see. So our instability is at 1,800. If we go more east, it should increase because we go into Mississippi. Yep. Wow. That is actually fantastic. Let's see how far east it goes. Is it going to stay at 2K? Yep. So we're probably still into Mississippi. That's the only issue, is I don't know exactly where it is. That's the only... We move by 0.50 each time on coordinates. If you look at the top, see the coordinates? We're moving by 0.50 every time. I don't know how far that is, because I really have never bothered with latitude and longitude. I'm assuming that's not very far. Ooh, this one's good. Look at that. The dry air is gone on this one. I mean, it's still a little bit present, but it's relatively gone. I wonder where that's located, because that's definitely better. Is that more east in the warm sector? Like further in that over here into like eastern Mississippi? It is. So more eastern Mississippi does not have that dry air intrusion. Your EML is definitely there in like western Mississippi, eastern Louisiana, but you also have dry air trapped in the mid levels. Yeah, see, you've gotten very, very obvious EML here, but then you have dry air trapped up into the mid levels. So it looks like the more east you go, you lose that dry air in the mid levels, but you also lose that more potent EML. So that might result in a more convection in this area, aka a more messy mode, but it might be a small narrow corridor up here where we don't see that messier mode. So we'll have to watch that. either way, I still see the Storm Prediction Center upgrading this to a day 4 enhanced. But in terms of saying it may go moderate by day 1, that's a little too tricky to tell because we're just going to have to wait for our model trains and especially our cams. They definitely won't be pulling a moderate trigger on day 3. That definitely won't happen. We'll have to wait until our cam models really start rendering in. And then if they're enhanced risk at that time, say a day 3 or a day 4 enhanced risk, then we can start talking about a potential moderate risk with this. But it was a day 6. It indeed was a day 6 slight risk for severe weather. And a lot of the times those end up going towards, at minimum, a day 1 enhanced risk. But typically they end up at moderate risks or even as high as a high risk. Personally, I have not recalled a day 6 slight risk that has significantly underperformed or has not or was not like an enhanced risk or a moderate risk at day 1. Every day 6 risk I can remember last year, which I think was either 2 or 3, we ended up with a moderate risk and a high risk with one of those. We ended up with 2 moderates and a high risk. I can't recall if we had a 4th day 6 risk. I'm not too sure about that. Basically, what I'm saying is I'd be shocked if this isn't a enhanced risk by day 1. Most likely, you're going to start hearing people debate about a moderate risk over the next 2 or 3 days for Saturday. My opinion right now, though, from a forecasting perspective, I definitely would not be pulling no moderate trigger if the setup stays like this on day 1. But we really need those cams, man. We got to have those cam models. Those won't happen until, well, we'll get the NAM 3K tomorrow night, probably. I'd say tomorrow night we'll have the... Actually, we don't even have the NAM. That's not right. Yeah, we'll get the NAM model tomorrow. And the NAM 3K probably won't be until either extremely late tomorrow or Thursday morning. We won't get the NAM 3K. Then we'll finally get the HRRR Friday night. Or will it be Thursday night? HRRR goes 48 hours out. So we'll get the NAM model tomorrow. Probably the NAM 3K either very late tomorrow night or very early Thursday morning. And then we'll get the HRRR Thursday night. The 0Z HRRR Thursday night will be the first model run for the HRRR that reaches to Saturday's threat. And then the big forecasting day is definitely going to be Friday, and then, of course, the day of Saturday. So we'll see which ways... we'll see which way our models trend over the next couple days. But definitely, now that I've done more of an analysis, I definitely see the perspective that Sam's looking at here with, you know, the dry air entrainment in the mid-levels being an issue, as well as the EML not being as strong into portions of central Mississippi. But either way, like I said, I think the SBC will probably pull a day 4 or maybe a day 3 enhanced. Okay, that's for Wednesday. Can somebody tell the NAM to lay off a little bit? Because we are not seeing an environment like this for tomorrow. I don't know what it's on about. Again, I think we'll see a enhanced risk for tomorrow. Ugh, a lot of dry air in the mid-levels. I think I've pulled a convective contamination sounding. Yeah, I pulled it right over a supercell. I pulled it right over a supercell. What about this one? Did the same thing. Did the same thing, too. Okay, let's try that again. Let's go a little bit more south, like right here. I could tell I pulled that right over convection. Oh, still some squiggly dry air there. I don't know how much that would affect your storm, but PDS Taurus sounding there. So, we'll see. Definitely, I really believe that we will be seeing an enhanced risk for tomorrow in portions of western Alabama into maybe into Louisiana and especially into Mississippi. Generally in that area there, generally in that area, and then I also believe we will eventually see. I think we'll eventually see an enhanced risk issued for Saturday, most likely centered over Jackson, Mississippi. We'll most likely see an enhanced risk generally in this area up here. And as we get closer, we'll see about a moderate. You don't know. We don't know which way this stuff's going to trend, right? It could all downtrend significantly, or it could all uptrend to the point where the SBC pulls a moderate trigger. That's just something we have to keep an eye on in about 2 days. But either way, we're looking at strong tornadoes both tomorrow and Saturday, and both of them we are looking at the probably an enhanced risk. Both days will most likely be an enhanced risk. What? Let's see. Hmm. Apparently, people are already talking about Saturday being a moderate risk on Twitter. Literally, like the first thing I look at on the first thing I see when I open Twitter is people talking about Saturday being moderate. Great, I think I started a train on Twitter. I apologize. That's my fault. Yeah. We were doing an analysis here, okay? We were doing an analysis. I was just kind of throwing my thoughts out there. But I'm sure most of us are thinking a moderate risk is possible on Saturday because it was a day 6 slight. It's all, in my opinion, it's probably all going to come down to that storm mode for both tomorrow and Saturday. That's typically what it comes down to. Typically, that's what it comes down to. Now, if you're talking about a high risk, that's just ridiculous. The jump between a moderate and a high is absurd. Let's think about this, okay? Let's go through our probabilities, shall we? Let's go through our probabilities. I'm going to just pull this up in the background. There you go. So a marginal risk, right? When you get a general thunderstorm risk, there's typically very little chance for a tornado. Then you get to marginal. That's a 2%. Then you get to a slight risk. That's a 5%. Then you have a pretty big jump from a 5% to a 10% for an enhanced risk. Then a moderate is from a 10% to a 15%. A moderate's another 5% jump. So a moderate risk is a 15% tornado risk. Now the jump from a moderate to a high. A moderate risk is a 15%. A high risk is a 30. You double it. You double it from a moderate to a high. That is why high risks are so rare, because it is such a big jump in the tornado probabilities. You go from a 15% chance every 25 miles to a 30% chance every 25 miles of a given point. So it is a huge jump from a moderate to a high risk. Typically, not a lot of people are going to be talking about a high risk unless the Storm Prediction Center starts to mention the potential for a high risk. Let's see here. I do want to go back over here to Alabama really quick. Actually, let's go to New Orleans radar site, maybe? I forgot to move that to Hammond. There was a lot to talk about, Sam. I wanted to do a big briefing and give my thoughts to everybody. What I think about both days. We did an hour and a half yesterday, and I wanted to do 2 hours today. I didn't want to just come on here and say Saturday could be a moderate risk and then end the stream. You know, I wanted to give you all this reasoning behind why I believe we may end up with a moderate risk on Saturday and why we will probably see an enhanced risk tomorrow. Give you the full background thinking of it. Conditions have to be right for a high risk. They don't have to be right. They have to be perfect. You have to end up with really a perfect environment for a high risk. Last year, thankfully, we had that underperforming high risk, and that was thanks to storm mode. Like I said, storm mode is such a big factor. We had literally one of the best environments I've ever seen last year, and they ended up upgrading that to a high risk, but a clustered and slash mixture of linear mode completely destroyed that high risk threat until we ended up with our nocturnal tornado threat. How many high risks do you think we'll see this year? Anywhere between 0 and 3. Anywhere between 0 and 3 high risks, I think. Watch us see 4. Yeah, that's what I just said, rockets, except for the nocturnal threat. I forgot that number existed. Come on, you can't forget about 0. That's nothingness. Technically, 0 doesn't exist because it's nothing. Most high risks issued in 1 year. I remember. I think didn't 2011 have 3? I don't know what year had the most high risks though. It was probably a long time ago before. Oh, it had to be a long time ago before like what 2011. Because the SPC introduced the enhanced risk. Oh geez, when was it? I'm gonna have to go look that up. It was 2014. Why did it? I thought that was in. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was back in like 2012. Apparently, it was October of 2014 when the SPC added the enhanced risk and the marginal risk. So it had to be before 2014 when we had the most high risks in a year. Let's see. See if Google knows. From the SPC. 2003 and 2010 both had 6 high risks for severe weather. 2003 and 2010, which are both before 2014, just like I said. What was the last year? What year was the blue tornado risk? We went over that in another live stream. I forgot. Buddy, I don't even know if I was born. Let me go see. When was it? Was it in 2014? Was it actually in 2014? This says 2014, but I feel like that's wrong. You can't trust Google, dude. I need to find the SPC. I want to see it for myself. Let's see. This keeps saying 2014, but I don't think it was. April 7th, 2006. Let me look at that outlook. Ah, there's your 60 sig. It was April 7th, 2006. I was 1 year old. I was one at that time. I what? Hold on. I wasn't even one. I wasn't even one. I didn't even turn one at that time yet, man. Most of y'all were barely even alive at that time. Yeah, Pez wasn't even alive. Sam wasn't either. I tell you, it was such a long time ago. That's crazy. Legacy wasn't either. Jake was 2 or 3 in 2006. It was April 2006. Indiana wasn't alive either. So there you go. That's how long ago it was. I couldn't imagine how the weather community would react if we got a 60 sig in the modern era. Like, pretty much, this year and next year or sometime soon. I don't think I would. I don't even want to know how Twitter would react. I don't even think I'd be able to go on Twitter. I just avoid Twitter on that day altogether. Jeez, I can't even imagine an environment for a 60 sig. April 27th, 2011 wasn't even a 60 sig. So what the heck did 2006 look like? I want the environment for that day. I don't know if my analogs are going to go back that far. My archives specifically. But I want the environment for that. They go back. Oh my goodness. They go back that far. April 7th. Yep, April 7th. Just wanted to double check. 2006. 500 millibars. Oh, wow. Jeez. That'll do it. That'll do it. Holy trough ejection. That would definitely do it. That's definitely a negatively tilt trough. I want more though. Give me more. April 8th, past 48 hours, 500 millibars. Look at that trough. Wow. Dude, that thing was negative over California. It was a negative tilt over California. Wow, what a trough. Hold on, I want to go look at the verification of that. National Weather Service, archives, April 2006. And it was the 7th, right? 91 unfiltered tornado reports, 565 hail reports, 215 wind reports. And what were the EF scale of those tornadoes? April 7th, 2006. Ooh, 2006. Somehow I typed 2066. We didn't even have an EF4 or an EF5. Or actually, it was F4, F5 back here. Something went wrong. It was probably a convective issue, if I had to guess. April 2006. 2006. And it was the 7th, not the 6th of April. Radar for the southern Mississippi Valley. And go. No storms. Wow. Definitely busted big time, huh? Here you go. Okay, Tennessee. And wow, over convection much. Very much over convection. Still not bad though. But definitely over convected. And it looks like your strongest tornado threat probably came right at the 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock time frame. I don't know when the time changes, so this would be either 7 or 8. I do not know which one. And it would probably be with these storms here. All right, one more thing on this. Actually, that's a lie. I probably will look at more than just one more thing. I don't really look. Let's not look at that. Let's go for. Let's just do instability. Um, it's just Cape everywhere. I don't think instability was an issue in much of the United States. What about? Okay, that's better. There you go. That's your main time frame right there. Honestly, I gotta be honest, not nearly as impressive of an environment as I was expecting. Not nearly as impressive. What happened on the 6th, though? 22 tornado reports on the 6th in Kansas, Oklahoma, and Nebraska, Missouri. That trough, though, that is definitely one of the most negatively tilted troughs I've seen. I think that is more negative than April 27th, 2011. Let's go to April 27th, 2011 really quick, just so you can see that trough. Did I do the right day? Let me just make sure. Yep. This is your 500 millibars too, so there you go. That's the trough on that's the 26th. That is not going into the 27th. Let's go to the future 48 hours and take this back to the 26th. Here you go into the 27th. There you go. There's your negative tilt. That's the last super outbreaks trough ejection right there. And you can see how it's obviously negative. Like I said, most of our significant outbreaks in the US happen with negative tilt troughs. But we have seen some significant outbreaks with a positively tilted trough, such as the one we're going to see on Saturday. We'll see what Saturday has in store for us. But yeah, I'll just do one quick overview of the severe threat one last time. Really quick. I'll go into that a bunch on our case study, Indiana, whenever I get to that. I don't know when I'll get to that. I would really hope to get to it in March and then upload it in April for the anniversary. It's going to be 14 years ago this year since the latest super outbreak. So for tomorrow, in that green and yellow area, that's where we're looking at the potential for multiple tornadoes, most of which will be very, very, very brief. We could have the opportunity for a brief, strong tornado or two, specifically where I think we will end up with an enhanced risk for severe weather, probably near, probably south of Jackson, Mississippi, into all the way as far southwest as Baton Rouge, Louisiana, back up towards Alabama. Generally somewhere in there, think we'll end up with an enhanced risk for severe weather, depending on how morning trends go. That's definitely going to be a big role, seeing what's happening in real time tomorrow morning, and then the SPC will make that decision sometime tomorrow if they pull that enhanced trigger or not. Then going into Thursday, we got a large general thunderstorm risk. We might see a 2% tornado risk introduced somewhere in here, whether that be for the morning convection left over from Wednesday or the potential for some an isolated tornado in the afternoon hours back out here. Not sure which one, but we might have at least the opportunity for a spin-up tornado Thursday. Going into Friday, we will have one of the more quiet days in the United States for the next couple of weeks. Friday's definitely going to be one of the more tamer days. And then Saturday will be one of the biggest days, if not the biggest day, for severe weather that we've had so far this year. Big slight risk for severe weather across most of Louisiana, eastern Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, into southern and central Tennessee. Legacy, if you're still here, you actually have managed to squeeze into that 15% chance for severe weather there. Didn't realize that till just now that you are inside of that. I do think we will end up with an enhanced risk. I don't know for sure if it will be day 4 or day 3, but eventually we'll most likely end up with an enhanced risk somewhere in here, and maybe a moderate risk. That's going to be a discussion for a later date once we get more confidence. But at least an enhanced risk will be a very real possibility for Saturday. And of course, same hazard. Saturday will have small hail, 1.5 inch in diameter, probably nothing greater than 1.5 inch. Damaging winds widespread, 60 to 7, isolated 80, and then multiple tornadoes, some of which will most likely be strong, especially across portions of central Mississippi into west central Alabama and far east northeastern Louisiana into Saturday. Sunday, the risk we may have an eastward extent of the risk into portions of the Carolinas, coastal Carolinas into Georgia, and portions of Florida. But in terms of the significance of that threat, we are too far out to really say, and I highly doubt it will be much more than an isolated spin-up tornado 2 and an isolated damaging wind gust up to 60 for Sunday. The main threat on Sunday will be the possibility of a delay for the Daytona 500. That will be the main issue on Sunday. Of course I'm going live tomorrow, Indiana. Yeah. I'll be live definitely tomorrow. Thursday is a little iffy, but most likely we'll end up being live Thursday night / Thursday evening. And then Friday, not too sure about Friday and not too sure about Saturday, and definitely not Sunday. I will definitely not be live Sunday. Friday night, I may be busy, so I can't guarantee a live stream Friday night. I would say definitely a live stream tomorrow, which is Wednesday. Most likely a little bit later live stream Thursday. Friday, probably not a live stream. And then Saturday, most likely a live stream. I don't know if we will be doing full-blown coverage Saturday unless we end up with a moderate risk. And even then, I'm not too sure. We'll see, because I'm going to be pretty busy Saturday. That's going to be something I make the decision for last second. We'll just see how that goes for Saturday. But I'll say it again, live stream tomorrow. The timing of that's actually, I don't know for tomorrow. I'll be live at or before 6 p.m. Eastern. Most likely at or before 6 p.m. Eastern for tomorrow. And then, like I said, Thursday will probably be a later live stream. And Friday, most likely not. And Saturday, most likely at some point will be live. Don't know for how long. But if you guys have any last minute questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. We're about to wrap things up here before you head out. Make sure you hit that like button. Share the live stream and the channel with your family, friends, social media. If you're new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button with the notification bell set to all so you know when I go live or upload a video. It is greatly appreciated. All right, let's see here. Is that Florida, Arkansas, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Mississippi, or another state? There's a lot of those town names. Any 0Z data rendering in? I'll look really quick whilst that person answers. Not at the moment. No. The first one will be the HRRR, which I think the HRRR 0Z begins like in 10 minutes or so. Okay, Florida. Ooh, that's going to be a bit close. I'd say you do have a risk for 60-mile-an-hour winds and an isolated spin-up tornado. Probably Saturday. Actually, hold on. Thursday morning. Very early Thursday morning, likely around the time frame of 7 a.m. You'll have the opportunity for 60-mile-an-hour winds and a spin-up tornado. And Saturday, are you in that risk? You are not in that risk for Saturday, but you could end up with a lower end severe risk very late Saturday night, early morning Sunday. St. Mary's, PA, why we have a winter weather advisory? It's probably for freezing rain. If we go ahead and read it. Yep. Sleet, snow and sleet up to 1 inch. And then ice up to 1/10 of an inch with winds gusting as high as 35 throughout the rest of tonight into 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's your snowstorm. A heck load of reports coming in now out there in the Maryland area. Oh, shoot. I am shocked I still have power. That's not far from my house at all. That is not far from my house whatsoever. I am shocked I still have power, y'all. That is very close. Very close to where I live. I'm southeast of that. I'm surprised I got power still. Probably not strong tornadoes, Mike, but most likely 60 to 65 mile an hour winds and a spin-up tornado will be possible Saturday. Probably Saturday evening or Saturday night. For Kentucky, I don't believe so. Maybe an isolated thunderstorm Saturday, but most likely nothing severe. Austin, I really don't know when your drought's going to end out there. We're watching for the opportunity of a snowstorm around the 20th of February, but I got to go ahead and end here. Only got 20 seconds to wrap it up. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be live tomorrow around the time frame of 6 p.m. Eastern or before. And I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday night. Stay safe, watch for your weather and the snowfall. Goodbye. Really quick, I believe our highest snowfall report of the day is in southeastern West Virginia. Around 13 inches of snow fell there today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in tomorrow's live stream sometime at or before 6 p.m. Eastern. Have a great rest of your Tuesday night. Thank you, mods, for mod and chat. Goodbye.